We're apparently starting, so let me take a chance to quickly start introducing myself while my colleague Jordan's working along the aisle. My name is Ricardo, I'm a previous racing driver and currently a racing instructor with the Portimao racing track. We're going to have Formula 1 there next season, the safety car driver at the same track, and it's my absolute pleasure alongside Jody to host you around the laps on the A1, the Red Bull Ring nowadays. Jody, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Of course, hi guys, welcome to the Truck Tour. My name is Jodie, Aston Martin racing driver, all the way from Scotland. So this weather for me is awful, to be truthfully honest. I'm probably going to get burnt, but we have another very exciting racing driver with us. 3 racing drivers at the top of the truck, but I'm not the important one on this truck tour. Give him an introduction, Ricardo.
Certainly. Please, ladies and gentlemen, a great round of applause to Mr. Luciano. Luciano is racing in the Porsche GT3 Cup. Luciano, if you don't mind, can you please explain us a little bit the preparation that you guys need to have physically for sure? Imagine a day like today, you have around 60 degrees inside of the cockpit, the technical preparations as well. These new generations of Porsches that we drive nowadays, comparing with the old ones, especially on the braking, it makes it a bit more tricky to adjust. If you don't mind to share a little bit your experience with the guys, that would be lovely. Now that we're approaching turn number 1, it's really uphill.
Absolutely. We have a lot of physical preparation, especially for this time of racing. The hot season came a lot earlier than we thought. Last week I was racing in Italy and we had 56 degrees of track. So it was a hard race to keep on pushing during the whole time of the racing. In here, we have a nicer weather, so it should be slightly easier for us. There's a lot of sim racing that comes into play, especially with how little we have time here in the Super Cup. We will do 1 practice session and qualifying and start the race. So there's a lot of work before the weekend to maximize the time we have been tracking here. And now with this year's start, we have the ABS and everything a bit more power. We're expecting to have faster lap times than we had last year, but that's also a thing that we've been working a lot on the sim before the weekend to have an idea of how it's going to be to drive here with the new car.
Yeah, indeed. For those of you that have no idea, that never driven before, there's loads of preparation behind the scenes before the racing weekend. Miss Jodie does the same. She's a GT4 driver in France. She's racing for Aston Martin. She's just won like a month ago in Dijon, so big round of applause for her as well. I'm feeling so small over here between these 2 legends, and I'm actually just 1.7 meters, so I'm not that big either. But honestly, now we're approaching, we're leaving turn 1. This is the fastest section of the track, from turn 1 until you reach to turn number 3. I guess you get around 280, 290 kilometers per hour, something like that in a Porsche. Is that correct?
Yeah, our car gets to, I think, the new one up to 285.
Yeah, that's a lot. And in terms that the braking point, it's going to be very tricky, a very heavy one, and it's fundamental to get an overall good lap time. You guys are always so tight. And likewise in Monaco, I believe the qualifying session is going to be very important over here in Austria as well. Because if you lose 1/10 of a second, it means that you're going to drop from, for instance, pole to 6th or 7th. Isn't that correct?
For sure.
Corner, there was a massive crash here a few years ago where Valentino Rossi got his head chopped off by another bike. So we had here in 2003.
And with the F1 running on the top, we have the rubber of F1 starting at maybe the 100-meter goal, and then we started around the 150. So the limit of the braking have no grip at all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the kind of corner where we can afford to miss the apex.
To play a little bit of air, and also try to keep a steady brake pressure, because it changes a lot from when you don't have grip and then you find the F1 rubber.
You were speaking, thinking you had the microphone there, but I've stolen the microphone. But as we start to head up to turn 3 now, obviously the first sector, you've got a lot of climbing, much more easier on the braking coming up here as well. But the one thing I want to pinpoint, because I know what it's like with these Porsche Cup car drivers, I don't know if you guys have ever followed the series, but they love using all the circuit, they love using all them curves, love using all them track limits, and this circuit is fond of a track limit here and there. And as we come round this turn 3, we've seen so much drama here with Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, but I want to focus on the exit, because it's really narrow actually, and then track limits can creep up at you really easily. So what's your thought process coming through this corner if you're racing somebody, maybe 4 cars up behind you?
with the end of the corner being so uphill, we always try to carry as much speed into the corner as we can, and not so much about the exit on the turn, because if you overslow the corner, then you end up being too slow anyways on the exit. Especially now that they took off the curve because of the inside, we're probably going to see a lot more track usage being it's more available to go harder into the inside. And we do try always to be not actually with the Porsche car, because if you go too fast into the turns, then it's impossible to make the car to rotate into the turns. So we do try to maximize the exit as much as possible.
That's great. Luciano, I'd like to ask you as well, as you were a Formula driver before, so you are used to downforce. If you could make the bridge between driving the Formula and driving the so what do you change or what do you do physically? How demanding it is to drive a Formula car comparing with a GT Cup car?
They have their differences, because on the F1 car, the steering is a lot stiffer than you think, and in the GT it's quite softer. We have assisted steering, so it's not as bad. But on the Formula car, you get a lot more airflow, believe it or not, into yourself. And you don't overheat as much as you do in the closed car. In the closed car, on the races like last week, we have, if not 60 degrees of heat inside the car, and go over. So it's like an oven inside the car. It's harder to keep yourself from overheating and starting to boost concentration just from the fatigue of being so hot. And in the Formula car, you struggle a lot more physically, but you're more relaxed. You get more air into you and you can cool down faster.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why these drivers are completely machine. They are fighter jet pilots indeed. They do need to be physically very well prepared in order to, as Luciano just mentioned, not to feel the pain throughout the race. Okay, otherwise they won't keep the focus. And these legends over here, they need to keep focus throughout all the race. Okay, turn 4 number now. Turn number 4 right now. They're using the curb on the outside, try to push the car onto the right side as fast as possible, now overtaking the truck. That's an overtaking point. And now again a braking point for a long left hand side corner, also very tricky. Can you explain this sector over here, please, Luciano?
Coming in between the two turns on our T4, we always try to keep as close to the car in front as possible, because into T5 we can, now that we have ABS, try and go for a lot of maneuvers that we couldn't last
It
year.
can be an overtaking point, right?
Yeah, we can try a lot of new stuff. It's going to be fun too in these tracks specifically, because we have a lot of like high-speed entry corners where we can keep some more brake into the turn and then have the ABS hold us still in track to try and make overtakes either on the outside, which might be possible in here, and on the inside.
Indeed. I don't know if you are aware, but Red Bull Ring has 4.3 kilometers divided by 10 corners. 8 to the right and only 2 to the left. You just need the first one to the left, which means that the left tires are the ones that will suffer a lot. You are constantly turning into the right side. How tricky it is to manage the tires throughout this race over here in Red Bull Ring.
It's interesting to get them up to temperature, because for the race we usually run much lower pressures on the inside tires that we don't use that much on the lap. So at the beginning, before the start, we have to we struggle a lot to get to get temperature into those tires, and then to have good grip at the start, especially on the rear, on the sandy start. It's very easy to get all 4 tires up to temperature equally. We always start with the 2 inside tires and cold, and then on the first lap we have to be super careful not to overdrive and not to go too hard on the steel cold tires.
Yeah, indeed. So as we mentioned before, it's loads of preparations behind the scenes. It's not only just sitting on the car, driving and be fast. We are now actually on the last sector. For myself personally, it's a very interesting sector itself. With 2 fast right-hand side corners. The very last one is indeed very tricky. I believe you use a kind of a little bit of a trail braking there. Braking, turning a little bit to the right at the same time. Can you lead us through that specific corner, please? The turn number 10.
In here on 9 we brake quite late, and we keep a lot of brake into the turn, especially because the exit is off camber, so the truck falls off. If you go too fast into the turn, then it's impossible to keep the truck on the inside, because the truck just wants to pull you away and pull you to the gravel. So we have to keep a lot of trail brake up into the apex to keep the rear stable, especially because we don't have that much steering issues, but it's hard to keep the rear to stay in place with the off camber. And then the last turn is maybe one of the most important of the track, especially with how uphill T1 is. it's very important to carry a lot of speed through the last turn, and getting gas early to get the maximum speed up the hill.
Exactly, they're bringing so much momentum through this corner, which also means on that exit, you're pushing so much more speed. And one thing I want to point out to the guests here on the left-hand side of the truck in the next few minutes as we go through this next corner, they've actually been a bit naughty here about track limits. They've really tried to almost man-make the track to avoid you ever doing track limits. And that's that slither of gravel they've got after that curve. I know me as a racing driver, I was coming around here, I would absolutely hate it. You guys can see now on the left-hand side. What's that really like mentally as well, coming around a corner like that? Surely that plays in your mind a little bit. You don't want to be hitting that too much.
I honestly like it more this way. I like where the track ends where the track ends, and you don't have any room to go off track and get track limits. I think it's better for racing. You make everyone be fair to each other, and then it also creates an issue all the time where we're pushing hard, but sometimes we go too hard into the turns and we pick up some gravel that comes onto track and then it makes the rest of the drivers struggle to get past onto the turn. So it creates some issue, but I like it better this way, and you have to respect it and stay on track.
So saying it so, ladies and gentlemen, we're reaching now the end of our world fastest lap around Red Bull Ring on the truck. Let me take the chance to thank you so much, Luciano, for being with us, for taking your time to be with us, to wish you the best of luck, not only for this race, but also throughout all the season, for all the races that you're doing. Enjoy it, and if you enjoy it, you're going to succeed as well, for sure. Big round of applause for Luciano, please.
Thank you very much.
On my side, and Jody, I'd like to thank you as well for being such a great audience. We wish you a great weekend, and for sure you're going to have an outstanding racing weekend ahead with Mercedes, Ferrari. For sure, Max Verstappen is always on the front as well. So let's do it. Let the win bring it. Enjoy it. Take the most out of it. Thank you.